What's up, everybody? Travis and Nate from Next Level TCG here, talking about some things that Pokemon 1 kajillion% needs to do here in Generation 9 of Pokemon to make sure that it is a success. You excited for today's video, Nate?
Yes, I'm very, very excited for today's video. I feel like every single day I get more excited for the new era. I'm just excited for something new, excited to get out of the Sword and Shield era.
Yeah, I agree. Sword and Shield era was great. Don't get me wrong. Yes. I really enjoyed it.
It was very good.
All the times. The cards, the games, everything was pretty good for me. But it is time to move on to Generation 9. We've had, a little bit of absence of videos, so welcome us back with open arms, hopefully, between the holidays, and then we both got sick and in computer issues. But we are back at it here for 2023, so happy belated New Year to you. But we're going to talk about Generation 9, and the very first thing, in my opinion, that Pokemon has to do in this generation, because it's been a very long time since they have, is introduce a new Eeveelution. That's right, people have been talking about it for years and years and years. A new Eeveelution needs to happen. What would that look like for you, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, maybe here on the pod, or I know we've definitely talked about it, off the pod and things like that. I mean, there's so many options still left that it could be, but I really think they need to, incorporate some sort of dragon type. I think that would be awesome. We already got the fairy type with Sylveon. So, a dragon kind of counterpart, I think is the next step. We also got, I think a fighting type would look really cool as well. I mean, shoot, like I said, there's so many other, typings that it could be, but I really feel like dragon is the next best step, in my opinion, at least.
How would you introduce the dragon type would you give it in the anime? Would you give us an expansion where you introduce the Eeveelution? Like, how would you give us that dragon type?
I think the easiest way to do it would be to introduce it into the anime. I think a cooler way to do it would be to introduce it into a game. I don't know if like a whole game could really be, centered around it. I mean, I'm sure they could figure something out, but I feel like probably the anime is where we would see it. I feel like that's really where a lot of new Pokemon stuff starts, is in the anime. We see it there, and then it kind of makes its way into a game, and then we got it on a card. So yeah, I think that's kind of the way it might go.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Dragon type would be really, really cool for sure. It would be cool if they could mix it, because like pseudo legendaries are like designed around like the dragon type design usually. It would be really awesome to get like a pseudo legendary Eeveelution somehow in the games. But I'm gonna lean towards steel type Eeveelution. And the reason why I say that is because I could totally see, or you can almost go side by side here. Okay, here we go. Here's my idea. I just thought of this while I was talking. Okay,
nice.
Just thought of this. Here's my idea. 2 new Eeveelutions in the next expansion for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where you go back in the time machine, or you go ahead in the time machine and you give us a rock type or a ground type, and then also a steel type Eeveelution for whatever game you're playing, right? So Violet's like the future base of the Paradise Pokemon, where they're all metal and stuff like that. So you get your steel type Eeveelution there from the future. And if you go back in time for Scarlet, that's where you find either your rock or your ground type Eeveelution. I think rock type would be a little bit cooler. It might be a little bit harder to pull off. Like, how do you turn Eevee into a rock type? We'd have to figure out those logistics. You just give it a Hearthstone and it evolves, something like that. But those would be the 2 Pokemon that I would choose, the 2 typings for an Eeveelution. And that's how I'd bring them in. I would bring them in the new expansion for Scarlet and Violet, the first expansion, which I do think we're getting expansive content for Generation 9 as opposed to like a Scarlet and Violet 2 or something like that. So, but that's definitely the way that I would do it. And I think steel type and either rock or ground type would be the best bets and fit in perfectly with the niche, like kind of how Sylveon fit into Generation 6, because the fairy type was introduced as well. They were like, hey, we're giving a whole new type, might as well give an Eeveelution with it.
I mean, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, I gotta say.
Logical.
It is very logical. I love it. Go back in time, you get the rock type. It's old caveman kind of feel, old.
Yeah, exactly.
old times, and then you bring it forward to the future. You got the Steel Eeveelution, and I love it. I think that's honestly, if they did bring it out in the game, like that's how they introduced it. I mean, I would go to say that's probably exactly how they would do it.
Right. And you can see here on our background, we actually have a couple of new fan art Eeveelutions here. I believe the one above me is a steel type Eeveelution, but it looks more as if they were introducing that in the Sword and Shield era, because they made it almost look like a gladiator, and then a ghost type over on the other side above Nate over there, which is
Ghost type would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool, but I've seen like people talk about it, and they're like, "Do you really want an Eeveelution where it's ghost type, so you have to go kill your Eevee?"
That's they'd have to come up with something else, some different way that you catch one of those.
Exactly. Okay, so speaking about expansions now, I think the next thing that needs to happen in Generation 9 is that one of our expansions, not necessarily the first one, but maybe the second or third expansion of Generation 9 needs to be an expansion where you're able to visit the Kalos region. That's right, there's all those rumors. We did an entire video on it where Kalos is supposed to be coming back, and it just matches up perfectly with the game map and all that stuff. Again, go back and check our whole video on it. But revisiting the Kalos region, I think, is something that needs to happen in Generation 9 for sure. X and Y is really when I got back into the Pokemon TCG and Pokemon games in general. So it's a little soft spot for me, but I think it needs to happen this generation. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I like when, they kind of bring generations together. They bring regions together, right? It just makes it feel like it's much more like it is all part of the same world, right?
Yeah.
All the same Pokemon world. So yeah, I'm down for it. I agree. And, I think this is finally the era when I'm going to get a Nintendo Switch and I'm going to get Scarlet and Violet. Just because of what I'm seeing coming out for these games, it looks really awesome and everything. And, I hope they're going to do, similar things to what we're talking about. But Kalos, I mean, it just makes sense. It makes total sense. I would be shocked if they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you guys want to watch that video, will be linked in description. Go check it out over there. It might go above my little head over here. I don't know. Maybe I might have to go find it. I don't know. But it is there. It's one of the more recent ones we did maybe a couple of weeks ago. So go check that out. It's a whole video on potentially Kalos region coming to the Paldea region in Generation 9. So now that we got one of the expansions out of the way, obviously generations have multiple games as well. If we are avoiding things like Scarlet and Violet 2, sequels, things like that, we need something else to replace it. And in my opinion, that needs to be a revisiting of the Johto region in a completely standalone game. Not as an expansion, not as part of Paldea. A completely standalone game a la Legend Celebi, or maybe something like a Let's Go Pichu, Let's Go Togepi type of a thing, or maybe a whole new game like when they gave us Legends Arceus and we were not anticipating it whatsoever. Like, what do you think about going back to Johto?
100%. I love it. I mean, I got, this is the only thing from my childhood, the silver cartridge here. So that's the only thing I got left. Johto in Pokemon Silver probably was my favorite game. So, I would love to be able to go back to that region. And I think that, to me, it makes the most sense to do, like you said, kind of like a Legend Celebi or something like that. It would be awesome to be able to go back in time in Johto. It would probably be, called something else, like we had the Hisui region. It would get its, its own new name and everything. But to be able to go back in time would be awesome. Or to, just get a little, Easter egg of like the GS ball. That's what, Celebi was supposed to be in the anime, something along the lines of that. Just kind of call out something would be cool. But yeah, Johto all the way. I mean, I can't say no to that. That just sounds amazing. Yeah,
there are so many like unfinished things with the Johto region, like the GS ball, right? Yeah. You could definitely have an entire story around that and how Celebi has come to be with the GS ball and all that relation. And you can also go all the way back and do the entire story of the Burnt Tower and what the three Pokemon were before they were the legendary beasts.
Ooh,
and all of that sort of thing. You can get the Lugia and Ho-Oh. Like, there's so many legendaries to talk about and all that kind of stuff. It would be really awesome, right? And you'd easily be able to tie up a bunch of loose ends in Pokemon, lore, Pokemon story, with revisiting the Johto region with a game in the past like we had with the Hisui region. I would still call it Johto though. Just something about like just keeping that, it would feel so good to go back to Johto region. And like, I know that we didn't know, like what Sinnoh was called or anything like that beforehand.
Right.
But, so they just kind of took Hisui out of the air and were like, hey, it's Hisui, right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be really cool to do something like that. Go back to Johto region. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think that the black and white generation is the one that we need to revisit next, right? Because we just had the Generation 4 Brilliant Diamond, Shiny Pearl remakes, and then we went back to Sinnoh again, like we're talking about Legends Arceus. So people are like, okay, now it's time for Generation 5, Zekrom, Kyurem, Reshiram, which, don't get me wrong, a Pokemon Legends Kyurem would be awesome as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Where you go back and find the original dragon before they split and all that. But Johto is actually the farthest away from what we visited, Soul Silver and what's it?
Heart Gold.
Heart Gold. I need to see it's, and I said Soul Silver first because it's always Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And when you say Soul Silver first, it makes you blank on the other one.
Right.
Those games came out before Black and White. And then we also had a sequel to Black and White come out after Black and White. So for quite a bit of time, actually, Johto has been the longest, least visited. We need to get back to it for sure. And this one was yours right here. What you want to introduce something new to the Pokemon TCG? Break that down for us a little.
Yeah, so something new that I would like to really see here in the next generation is really a completely new rarity. I think it has just recently been confirmed that it looks like we're going to get some sort of a trainer gallery or art rares or something, whatever they decide to call them. But they look pretty much identical to what our trainer galleries are today. We're going to have those silver borders, which is going to look cool. But I would like to see something, completely new, completely unique to the era. And I kind of think back to Amazing Rares or the Radiance, right? Unique to the Sword and Shield era. That's something that I think, kind of, helped the era do a little bit better. There was those few sets kind of in the middle of the era where, we had something else, a little bit else to chase, before we had, the trainer gallery and all the amazing cards that we have in like the, later half of the Sword and Shield era. So I think just bringing something that's going to be completely unique, is something that they probably need to do a little bit early on, kind of like they did with Vivid Voltage. That's where we got the amazing rares. So if they do something like that, again, which I definitely think they should do, I foresee it happening within probably the second or third set, very much like we had it here in the Sword and Shield era.
Yeah, they have definitely been experimenting with all kinds of stuff. I would probably say since like X and Y, really, they've given us all different kinds.
The break cards and stuff.
Yeah, with the break cards and the different types of products and things like that. A lot of changes, and I really think we are on the precipice of having a lot more changes again here in the Generation 9 because, they made a lot of fundamental changes in Generation 8 as well, but giving us the Ultra Premium collections and all that. So I definitely hope they continue that. We do have confirmation of the art rares coming to Generation 9, which is going to be really, really cool, even though they're basically just trainer gallery cards. So, I'm not sure if it's a whole new rarity, like if we're going to get them as art rares because they are given, they've already made Generation 9 a lot more similar to the Japanese product than it has been in the past. Because they've always been character rares and then character super rares in Japanese to where they were just trainer gallery in English. I think they're going to keep a lot of the fundamentals the same between Japanese and English now. So I don't know if the Scarlet and Violet trainer gallery, quote unquote, is going to be that or if it is going to be art rares. So that could be their, hey, we're giving you something new here early on. Or if they are going to give us something really, really unique, like the Amazing Rares, which is amazing. It really is great. I still hope they bring that Clarity Rare that we're talking about, the clear cards.
Oh, yeah. Those would be awesome.
They've also done like this with the V-Star Universe. They got those fake autographed cards from the trainers
those are
and
pretty
stuff.
cool.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like to see them introduce something like potentially like an artist autograph, like pullable from the
Ooh,
packs.
that would be super cool. That would be super cool.
That would be dope. Kind of like they do in sports, you get the sports autographs and jersey cards and stuff. Obviously, you can't get pieces of Pokemon or anything like that.
Why not?
Dangerous.
Dangerous. I'll think about that a little bit more, actually.
But you can definitely get autographs, from the artists and things like that, So like having, like maybe, 1,000 or, 3,000 autographed Arita cards out there in packs. Because right now the only way to get an autographed Arita card is to like go to a con, get them to sign one of your cards and all that stuff. It's really, really cool. But like having an official Pokemon TCG authenticated from a pack autograph card would be bananas. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I would be down for that all day, every day, for sure. And that I kind of goes into, I think, what I hope you were going to talk about next, with doing a little bit more for like the adult, fan base.
That was going to be my next thing I was talking about. The last thing that I really think they need to introduce in Generation 9 is just something more for the adult fan. For the first time, really since 2020, 21, 22 now, going into 23, there's a large fan base of Pokemon fans that are in their 30s. It just is, right? For some reason, millennials have a very strong desire for nostalgia. Like I was actually talking to my mom about this. Hi, Mom. I was like, nostalgia is not really a thing for your generation. And she's like, no, it's not. Like, we really don't care, Like, she doesn't have the urge to she was to go buy the things that she did when she was a teenager or a kid. She just doesn't, and our generation really does. We want to play video games. We want to collect Pokemon cards. We want to read comic books. We want to do all these things that we did growing up, or, at least we wanted to do growing up and weren't allowed to. Jeez.
Right.
I think Pokemon needs to realize that most of the stuff that Pokemon does is for children, and one of the perfect things to notice about that is the design of all the Generation 9 Pokemon. Almost all of the Generation 9 Pokemon are 100% designed for children. They look like they're for kids, to be enjoyed by kids and stuff like that. And it's a kid's game. It is. I understand that. But the bulk, in my opinions, the bulk of people that like play the game are older these days. They really are. I'm not saying that you need to fundamentally change the game or anything, but I would like to see, maybe at least a PG-13 movie. Doesn't need to go straight to R, doesn't need to go straight to, death, kills, beheadings, like Charizard chomping off Blastoise's head or something, like it doesn't have to go that deep right away, but just something more adult. And I do think that something like Detective Pikachu was a step in the right direction, because it was really a movie that was made for both. It was live action, it was made for kids and grown-ups alike to enjoy, which was really, really cool. But we definitely need something a little more grown up, maybe a side game for grown-ups. Maybe the live action TV show that's been announced is going to be a little more on the grown-up side, but we need to cater towards us 30-year-olds at least a little bit.
Yeah. And I wonder I wonder, like, I mean, they've had to have thought about that, right? I would think so. But, I wonder
It'd be silly not to.
Right? I wonder if they think, like, they don't want to get into the realm of where like Magic the Gathering is, because like I feel like you go in a store and the kids aren't looking at the Magic the Gathering stuff.
Well, but look at it this way:
definitely much more
this
for
is
an
why.
adult crowd.
This is why, because there's no Magic the Gathering anime, there's no Magic the Gathering movies, there's no Magic the Gathering plushies. There's no Magic the Gathering amiibos.
Those will be some intense plushies.
Like the whole media franchise is designed for children. It would be okay for them to say, here's a couple of items that maybe are for the more mature side. But I do get what you're saying, because Magic is I mean, they're even scaring away their adult fans at this point with this like $1,000 freaking box or whatever.
Ooh, yeah, that's daunting. I honestly don't I can't say I'd be able to go out there and buy a $1,000 modern product or vintage product. I don't know why I said it that way, but you know what I mean. Like I can't just go out and drop $1,000, on a collector's product myself. So yeah, I can see, that also being a reason why, Pokemon's not necessarily walking down that road.
I mean, a lot of casual fans are even complaining about the price of the Charizard UPC at $120.
True.
True. Know, which
I mean, for how it was, the quality, and I mean, that didn't help. That did not.
But the only people who bitch about that, us. People like us.
That's true.
People who are hardcore Charizard Ultra Premium Collections fans. People who send cards in to get grading and stuff like that. Those are the people who complain about the Charizard UPC quality. You know,
probably not the kid that opened it up on Christmas.
The casual collector doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people, also tend to forget that they're, for every hardcore Pokemon fan, there's probably 1,000 casuals.
That's
so
true.
For every one person who's like, oh my god, the centering on this card is so booty cheeks, it ain't getting no good grades. There's 1,000 people who are like, whoa, this Charizard card is freaking sweet. I would love to add that to my collection.
That's true. I do forget about that. Like not everyone's as hardcore of a collector as we are, opening up as much as we do, and seeing the same collection box being opened up 10, 15 times because we just had to pull that card.
Yep. Just had to have it, man. So cool. Let us know, guys, down in the comment section. What do you think that Pokemon needs to do in Generation 9 to make it a successful generation? I definitely think there's a lot of awesome stuff coming to Pokemon TCG, Pokemon games, Pokemon shows, everything. They are definitely in a grow now, win now mindset, which I love because it just means that we're going to get a lot of cool things at the end of the day. If you're new to the channel, here on Next Level TCG, we post full-length videos 3 to 4 times per week and then also shorts every single day. So make sure you guys drop a sub and hit that notification bell if you're into that sort of a thing. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, smash that like button as well. Send us home, Nate. Send us home, my friend.
Oh, send us home? I thought you were just exiting out of the video there, but I did have a question. I wanted to know, I feel like you said, we've been out of it for 3-4 weeks now, it feels like. And I just wanted to ask everybody, to comment down below, how is everybody feeling about the Gen 9 starters now that we've had them for a little bit? You've played them, you've had them on your team, you've probably kicked them off of your team. I just want to know, how's everybody feeling about those starters now?
They still suck. There's mine. There's mine.
Well, we now know how you feel about it.
That's right. And remember, guys, if you want to level up, you got to be kind and be yourself.